Hello, everybody. I'm Helen, and we're doing the second session, second day of the carving clay class. And to recap, I just made two pinch pots, put it together to make a little round box-like thing. And then I think last week we went and chose which leaf was going to be on top, which was going to be the next level, and kind of blocked it out and sketched it out. Okay, so today we're going to continue that, and I'll show you what we do next. So it looks like a mess right now, but what we do is once we decide which one's going to be your top leaf and the bottom leaf and all that, and then we also kind of cut this open so that, and I've got paper towel so it won't stick back. I am going to work now, instead of go from the top down, I'm going to go from the bottom up. No, wait, hold on a second. I think I'm going to go from the top down. So we'll start with the top layer first. And the tools I'm probably going to use is this one, and let's see, probably this one. Okay, so it'll be these tools, a round one and kind of a pointy one. So I'm going to work on the most top leaf, and it's going to be this one. Now, you always want to keep it on your box because it might get distorted. So you want to keep the lid on here. So I'm going to carefully do the veins now. Okay, and this leaf is just going to sit on top. All right. And I have to decide whether, you know what I'm going to do. I don't like the way it's just flat and just sitting on top. So I'm going to kind of shape it a little bit. This side, I'm going to let it go down a little bit and kind of like sculpt it here. Because it just looks like a super flat leaf. In real life, maybe it is flat, but you know, you have artistic license here. Okay, I kind of shaped it a little bit. I don't know if you can tell. Let me see if this helps. Probably not. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to do the veins. I'm going to redo the veins again. So let me put this down. It's hard to see. Okay, I think you can see some of the veins. Okay, so I did the veins for the first top leaf, all right? Now I'm going to define it better on the edges. So I'll take this tool first, and I'm going to make it really clean and defined, separate it away from the next layer underneath, okay? And you gotta do this carefully because you might, a big chunk of clay might come off. Okay. And I'm kind of doing a little undercut. That means I'm cutting underneath that layer. Okay. This carving process is time consuming because you have to keep going over and over your carving. Okay. So what I just did was I made that more defined right there. So it separates it from this leaf. So this leaf got separated from that leaf. And I'm going to do it on this side also. And I've got to be real careful here because the stem is so, what do you call it? Skinny and fragile, okay? All right. So I'm going to carve this away. Okay, so now I kind of defined it, carved it away, and I'm gonna carve it away from this other leaf that it's next to. So I'm kind of doing an undercut here. That means I'm cutting underneath a little bit on that top leaf. All right, so that's a little bit defined, more defined. And we can go back and keep working on those later, but first, this is our first pass. Okay, now I've got another leaf it's touching. So I want to define that edge. Cut a little bit. Make sure this other leaf it's touching is going under this top leaf. Okay, so the most top leaf should stand out now. It should be detached from all its surrounding leaves. Okay, so now I'm gonna do, let's see. This guy seems to be the next good candidate. So let me see if I can shape it a little bit. It's a little bit like a hump right here. So lower his height a little bit. And I always try to cut this, shape it like in the direction of the veins, because some of the texture is going to remain. And this is just a wider trimming tool, just to be able to get more of the surface. So I'm going to lower the center of this leaf a little bit. Shave off some of that. Okay. Next, I'm going to take this tool, okay, and do the veins, okay. You want to do the veins first, probably, just in case you accidentally lopped off a chunk of the clay. So you want to do veins before you define the edges. Okay, so I've got the veins on this guy. And then now I'm going to separate it from its background. Give it a little undercut. And right here, it's on top of another leaf, so I got to separate it. So you're going to get a lot of these shavings, pieces of clay. You can recycle it, you can re-wet it, wedge it up, and reuse it. You don't need to waste anything here. So right now I'm separating this guy. Be real careful when it comes to the stem. Sometimes I accidentally lose the stem, and then you just have to do a design change, okay? So I've got that leaf done, and it's been separated from its neighbors. I'm gonna go ahead and do this little one right here. So it needs to, okay, make the veins. And you can do any kind of leaf. I guess oak leaves are possible too, but like maple leaves might be a little bit complicated, but trident maples, they only have 3 of those pointy thingies. So You can try the trident maple, bamboos. Bamboo leaves are cool. They're simple. Okay, now I have to separate this little one from its neighbors. So I'll do a little undercut, but it's very delicate here. And like I said, this is just the first pass. So after we do this, and it dries a little bit more, you go back and keep cleaning up the edges and everything. Okay, I gotta separate him from the leaf it's laying on. So take away a little bit at a time, carve away a little bit at a time. You try to carve away a big chunk, you're gonna probably break off a big piece of clay. Okay. Sometimes you get lost in the pattern, but that's okay. And accidentally carve off another leaf or something, but it just means a design change. Sometimes, you have to be careful because you might have a specific image, and if you lop off something, that's going to give you problems. So it depends on the image you're having. This one's pretty abstract and free form. Okay, so I just separated the little one, okay, away from whatever it was touching. All right. Next, let's see. I think I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to take away a little bit where it's poking up a little bit. And remember, the walls of this thing is very thick right now. After I finish all this, I will have to open the lid and carve out the excess clay, but you don't do that until you finish carving to the depth you want. Okay, so this one is next. And right here, I have a lump of clay that, oops, I just broke off a piece because I dug too deep at one time. Okay, now I got to separate him from its neighbor. Kind of clean that up. You can make the veins thinner lines if you want. You just have to be careful when you glaze it. Sometimes the thickness of the glaze, if you put the glaze on too thick, you can't see if the glaze fills in the lines, the veins, and you lose your veins. So it depends on what kind of glaze you're going to use. I'm going to actually use a cone 6 Celadon colored glaze, and I'm only going to paint it 3 coats. If I do more, I'm going to lose the lines. I dip glazed one of my pieces and I completely lost the lines. I should have wet the clay first so that the glaze wouldn't absorb into the clay too much, but it was trial and error, and that glaze was a little bit too thick. But if you're painting on glaze, it should be okay. If you want, you can also paint each of these leaves with a different underglaze color and then clear glaze the whole thing. That's interesting too. Underglaze, be careful. You may not want to do the 3 coats. You may want to give it a watercolor effect by having thinner coats, because the underglaze might fill in the carved lines too much. Okay, and then you'll lose the veins again. Okay, I'm working on this one, but let me show you. Okay, so on this piece, I really carved the heck out of it. And a ginkgo leaf doesn't look like this, but it looks like a little bowl inside here. I just kind of went to the extreme. But you can see where I did the undercuts right here. I'm carving underneath the leaf. Okay, carved out. And it's really hard on the stems. The stems are pretty delicate. But I just went ahead and carved everything like that. Okay. And on the edges, I went ahead and carved the edges. So if you look at my veins, the veins are pretty thin. I think I used this tool and got thin lines. And so I was careful when I glazed that it didn't fill up the lines. So right here, it looks like it filled up the glaze filled up some of the lines I carved out. So they kind of disappear. Okay, so let's keep going here. I think I was doing this piece. And this is right on the edge of the opening. So we'll treat that a little bit differently. Let's see. I think this is where it ends. Okay. So this leaf ends here. And it's right at the opening. So I'm going to give it an undercut carefully. Okay. It's hard to see right now. Okay. So I'm going to remove some of that tissue because that's getting in the way. Okay, I'm just going to take all the tissue off. Okay, so whatever I carved here, there's like thin pieces, little pieces of tissue stuck on there. I'm going to throw those shavings away because if I put it in and recycle it, the paper will rot and it just smells real bad if it just rots real bad. So those shavings I'm going to throw away. But I'm going to define this one a little bit better. Okay, so where did I just? I think that's paper. Okay, so right here is where it meets. You get to play around a lot with the edges right here, the rims. You can really have fun here. Okay, so I carved that pretty deep and I need to round all those edges, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. And these shavings are going to be tossed because I think there's paper in there. Okay, so I got that done. Let me move over here and do this one because I need to do that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the lines. Now you see I have all the rough vein lines already. I did last time, and that was because otherwise you can't tell where's the leaf. So I just did some rough lines just to see, just so I can see where the leaves are. If you just do the outlines of the leaves, it's hard to tell where they begin and end and what's what. Okay, this piece is to go out. Okay, so this shaping should be okay. Now, I'm going to have to define this guy, get him off away from that other leaf. So we will undercut. Do it a little bit at a time or else a big chunk's going to fall off. Okay. So I think you can see this one now. Okay. Now I'm going to work on this one, and there's paper stuck on here. So actually, I'm going to have to work on this one. And frankly, I don't know what's going on. I think there's two of them there. Okay. Okay, so we'll work on this one. And it's only like the half of a leaf showing, but I'm still going to put one here. And if the paper is mixed, it's stuck in the clay, you might rip out a chunk of clay, so be careful. And I think there's paper in this one, so that's tossed. Okay, now I need to define that. Okay. Okay, so I just made one leaf right here, and I'm going to move this guy a little, shave him down a little bit, sticking out too much. Okay, this one has paper stuck in it, so I have to be careful. Okay, let's draw the veins for that, carve out the veins. The paper's in the way. See if I can get that off. When you're working on the rim part, just be real careful. You might accidentally carve out way too much. Okay, so that one's a big leaf. I'm going to toss this one. And I need to separate it from everything else. So I think it's going to be, oops. Right now, the clay is pretty soft. This is porcelain, so it's a little bit finer and softer than the other clays I normally use. I'm really going to have to dig out this part, and hopefully I don't punch through. Okay, so right here on the edge, that needs to be fixed. It's just too blunt. Okay, so let's see if I can do that. It's hard to do it, so I'm gonna have to take this one off. Okay, what I'm gonna do is carve it in. And we'll round this off much later when it's a lot more stiff and hard. Okay. Let's see, where did that go? Okay, so that's a lot better. It's not like, you know, just blunt. Okay, now it looks like this one needs to be fixed. Okay, I'll worry about that later. Let's go ahead and do this one. Let's see. It's a big leaf. Oops. I normally don't want to take the lid off, but the lid is sliding too much. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's not the prettiest leaf, but let's see how it goes on here. Oops. We've lost it. Yeah, okay. At some point, it might be a good time right now. I'm gonna make a little tiny notch so we know how the lid is going to fit. Let me give it undercut here. Let's see, what's a good place? We'll make it right here, temporary. Just make a little dot here and then a little dot here. Okay, so I know it's supposed to go together there. So I'll make this bigger. So see that? See the two little dots right there? Okay. All right, let's see. What else do I need to do? Let's see. I did that one. I did this one. I don't think I did that one. Yeah, I think there's a big leaf here. That's messy. Okay, we need to separate that guy. Let's see, how do I do this? Oops, the clay is a little bit harder right there. Okay. I need to round this edge. It's too blunt. I'm going to support it right here and then kind of push down. There's paper involved here. I'm going to have to throw this one away. These shavings need to be thrown away. Be real careful on the edges like this. I'm going this way towards the lid, okay? Because if I go this way, it's going to break off a chunk. So I'm going towards the lid. Okay, that one's pretty good. Now I need to do this one. So let's kind of define the edge here. Get rid of some of the excess. Okay, I'm gonna have to go this way. So I'm gonna support this here. Now I'm gonna go back towards the edge again. And we can take a squeezed out sponge later when this is much drier and round off those edges more. Okay, check all of these. Okay, I need some more here. These kind of look like shells right now, like scallop shells. Maybe you can just have a bunch of shells on top here. Carve out. Okay, I think I got, in general, most of it. Okay, so see how thick this is right now. Okay, I'm gonna carve out all that excess later. Right now I gotta throw away this because there's paper. And I had that mark right there. I gotta find my mark if it's still there. Sometimes I lose my mark. Here we go. So there's my mark. Okay. All right. So we got the lid here. And maybe you just don't like it looking like that. Maybe, you know, you want to kind of continue some of the leaves, okay, down here. So maybe I'll just kind of sketch one out, a shallow one. All right. I don't know if you can see that. All right. So I can start carving that leaf. I'll do the veins first. And I'm probably not going to put a whole bunch of leaves on the bottom. It's just too much work. So I'll just do a little bit here. Okay, so let me show you what I did. So I put another leaf here, okay? And I'll look at it and decide I might want to put another one. I'll just do it this way. And so I'll put another one here, kind of like at an angle. Let's carve some veins here. And don't forget to leave, make the stem too. And I'm going to bring the stem all the way down to the bottom. Okay. So this is kind of like hold on, let me fix this a little bit. I'll make this bigger. Okay, so I just made a strange looking leaf here. All right. Then I'm going to turn it and let's see, I've got two here. It looks like I have space for two more. So I will put one, let's see, maybe I'll put one, maybe have this one going this way. Okay, so I kind of had that one angling out that way. And then another one this way. Okay, just did a rough shape. And don't forget to leave the, have the stem there. It's easy to accidentally cut off the stem. But this piece is so thick, if you accidentally didn't put a stem in there, you can carve deeper. So the ones on the bottom look like abstract, a little bit more abstract looking. But you're probably not going to see the bottom ones as well. It just looks like lines. So I got that one there. All right. I'll do the last one. And I can keep going and completely cover it if I want, but I don't really want to do that. I guess I could. I'll have to look at it. Yeah. A little bit more dry down here, so it's harder to carve. Okay, so I did the first sketch, carving. So right now, it looks like I need one here. I guess that's okay. Yeah, you look at it and I go, I really need one there. So I'll make another one here. And I'll make this one overlap. Now, it's good to carve the bottom if it's hard to make a perfect circle if you're not on the wheel. So sometimes you can disguise any imperfection by just carving stuff on it. And this piece was not a perfect circle at all. Okay. So I've got that going on. Let's see what it looks like so far. Maybe it might want there, but I'm gonna leave that blank. Okay. So now we have to do the same thing we did to the top on the bottom leaves. And this time I normally don't want to take the lid off, but I'm afraid this is just gonna plop right off so see how thick it is? We're gonna carve all that out, but before you do that, you carve the leaves. Now I'm gonna take away a lot of the background here. And when I do that, I think I'm gonna give it a texture instead of something smooth. So let me dig away deep on this one. And then I may do this kind of texture here. Let me see. Because it's kind of more interesting. Be careful you don't carve away the rim right now. Leave the rim for later. So I might do this kind of texture. It just adds more interest. Okay. So let me carve away the background a little bit more. It's a little bit harder to carve because the clay is a little bit harder here on the bottom. Okay, so I carved deep because I want this leaf and this leaf to stand out. And then I'm just going to texture this. And because this piece is so thick, I can really go deep. And I'll just do this and I can always fix this later. See if I don't like the way it looks, okay? So right now it just looks like this, right? So do not, I don't have the lid on here, but do not put this down like this because you'll distort that rim where it's supposed to fit the lid. Okay. So move this, some of this out. Okay, so carve that out again, lift the stem. This side. Just following the outline of the leaf at this point. And then removing a lot of it. Okay, so just follow the outline of the leaf. And I had that pencil mark. I'm going to leave that there for now. Don't want to carve that away because I need to know how the lid is good, where the lid fits. Okay, so I just did some rough carving here. Okay. All right, we got a little bit more here. Don't put too much pressure. You accidentally slip and carve off something that you didn't mean to carve. So just make sure you have control here. Okay, so I did another one and I have one last place. Okay. I'm trying to stay away from the rim. Try not to dig too deep right there because we'll work on that later when we fit the lid. Okay, so I just did the outline here, outline there. Now I'm just going to remove some of this and create a texture at the same time. And when you create this texture, maybe you want to follow the direction of the leaves. And that's going to be more harmonious of a design. Okay, let's see what that looks like. Gotta find a pencil mark. And the other pencil mark is here. Okay, so that's what it looks like so far. Now, I do need to undercut and separate those so it stands out better, and also round the blunt edges, okay? So let's do a little bit of the undercut so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I separated this leaf from its background. And now I'm going to work on the rim. Take this off temporarily. And I'm going to go towards the pot, not that way, okay? Because I don't want a chunk to come off. Well, that chunk came off, so shouldn't have dug too deep. Okay. Okay. So what's going to happen is later on, we're going to smooth everything with a squeezed out sponge, and then the rim will be very rounded. So let me show you what that might look like. Where did I just do that? Let's see. Okay, I think I just did it right here. So it could use some more work, but let's see. Where did I do it? Right here. Okay, so I kind of rounded it, okay? And it looks a lot better than just a squared off kind of edge. So we'll do some more of that. And you have to be real careful doing that. The squeezed out sponge acts as a sandpaper, okay? You never want to sand your dry clay piece because you don't need to be breathing in that fine clay dust, okay? There's silica in it and that's not good for your lungs at all. So clay, when it's still wet and damp, is okay. When it's dry, be careful of the fine dust. Do not use sandpaper or pot scrubber, okay? I just want to show you what it looks like if we cleaned it up. Okay, so let's see, where did I just do that? Oh, right here. Okay, so I kind of rounded off that and I think this edge right here, yeah, is rounded. So it looks much better that way, okay? So what I need to do is continue that. And then once I'm happy with everything being carved exactly the way it is, I'm going to take out a squeeze out sponge, okay? So that means you wet the sponge and you squeeze it as hard as you can. You don't want to like add a lot of water, okay? And then you just keep lightly, don't push hard. This excess sandpaper and smooth it out. And then sometimes you will lose your definition. So then you go back and fix it, carve it some more, okay? So you repeat this process. You sand it and then let it dry and then fix some areas that need more definition. Okay, so let me just show you what this might look like. Okay, so I can already tell there's a lot of places I need to go back and define better. And clean up, okay. So you don't want this sopping wet now. And you can do this with the air dry clay also. Now, if you're not gonna use this for food or for water, you can make it out of air dry clay, not the Crayola Kids brand, but not paper mache either. It's actually called air dry clay and it dries really hard like concrete almost. And then you can smooth it out. You can carve it. And then once it's completely dry, you can paint it with acrylic paints if you want, and you can seal it with acrylic spray. Okay, so right here, I've lost a lot of my definition, so I can go back and fix that. But so I'm gonna have to go back and carve out some more, okay, define it some more, but it smooths it out pretty nicely. All right. So once you do that, and once you do the rim and everything else, you want to kind of give it some pseudo feet here. And that means, let's see, where's my tool? Okay. So I'm just gonna make like a cross here, okay? Like a cross. And I'm just gonna carve out. So right here is going to be feet. And this part is going to be carved out. And because our piece is very thick, you got some thickness you can work with. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll keep going, okay? And these become the feet. So it sits on that. Okay, so that way the center isn't bulging out, but I'll have to keep carving it. And then once you do that, now you can clean out the inside. Do not lose your rim, okay? I'm gonna carve away half of it. I have that joint where I joined the two pinch pots right there. Okay, so all that, and you can recycle all this clay, but you have to make sure everything is finished on the outside. All the carving is finished before you do this, and you can go slow, okay? Do a little bit at a time and thin out the walls. So let me do a little bit just to show you. A little section here. Okay, so I've carved away half of the rim. Okay, I didn't touch the rim. All right, and once you're happy with that, and then the lid part, then you can kind of smooth it with a sponge, but don't get it super wet. All right. Let's see, where's my mark? So here. All right, and then okay, here we go. And you know, you would smooth everything out with a sponge and all that. Let me show you. It's kind of hard to see on this one. So let me show you what it's done. Let's see. This one's a good candidate. I'll show you this one. Okay, so this one's a little bit similar. All right. I have that irregular, and see where I have undercuts. Okay. So it's not like flat right here. And then I carved out the inside. So on mine, I didn't smooth out my carving marks. I mean, I did smooth it out, but I kind of didn't erase all of it because I kind of like that handmade look. But you can smooth it out. But notice my rim, I've got a good substantial rim. And I think on this one, I didn't put any markings where it fits, but that's okay. The reason why I have holes on these is because I accidentally cut through it. It wasn't that thick and I just dug too deep. So I just made a lot of holes in it. So it could be good for potpourri or, you know, even incense. Okay, and then let's see. Yeah, I'll show you the bottom of this when I told you about the legs. Okay, I just carved it out. So it sits on these high points. Okay, and that's the low point. And here's another one that I did. And I just carved away a lot of the edges. So that's why it looks like there's space in there. And once again, I left some of the carve marks, okay? This one has a thin rim, so I must not have made this thick to begin with, all right? Okay, that's it. And I hope you learned a lot and we will see you next week. But like I said, you know, you let this dry, you know, sand it with the wet, squeeze out sponge and you keep working on it, fine tuning it, okay? And it makes a cute little container. All right, so we'll see you next week. All right.